This is Harry Gines, the first black man of reparation in U.S. history. I'm here today to give a presentation for the late, great Aretha Franklin. But before I do that, it's very important that I get the respect of her husband, Glenn Turman. Mr. Turman is somebody who Aretha Franklin chose as a husband, and he chose as a wife. That's very important. Those two, at the time that they was married, was on top of their game. They was the biggest thing in music, and Glenn Turman was the biggest thing the big screen had. So it's very important to understand that, just how big this couple was for the era in which they were on top of their game. That's very important. And this goes out to Glenn Turman. I want to reach Glenn because I know your loss is something that we are all feeling right now. And what I have to give you today is all of me, all of Harry Gines. And so I just want to bring just something, so between me and you, Glenn, you'll be able to remember this piece as something special. This will be something special for you. Now, a lot of people didn't really know Glenn as far as some of his movies, but there was one particular movie that I think he'll appreciate, and that was JD. JD Revenge. He was a bad man with that thing. You see, now Glenn played that role. He played that role to the T. It's very important. But now, we don't want things to be trending. Like I said, this is between me and Glenn, so that he might have that little piece of something that he can say, yeah, that was good. But also keep in mind that Glenn Turman also had The River Niger. Yes, The River Niger was a big film. So if I can just set my hat down for just a second, I can get this presentation on the way. Now, like I said, this presentation is about Aretha Franklin. So we want to open up just to let it be known who we're speaking of. We're speaking of Aretha. This is the queen of soul, without a doubt. And she's left us. So it's wide open now. Who will be the next one to take that throne? That's very interesting to know. But the path of Aretha Franklin, we have to understand that it was one of segregation. Now, you might say that this isn't appropriate, but I am a historian, and the culture that she established for us all is very important. So I'm not here to say anything disrespectful, but I will try to cover a culture that she left us with, and so we can get going with this presentation. Now, some of my pieces are going to look kind of rough because the hood, if you got a piece that's rough looking, that was a piece that's more likely put some work in. Okay, now we have here, if you can see that, yes, you can see that that's James Brown at the Apollo. Now, what is my point that I'm trying to make to this? And it's all related to Aretha Franklin. It is. Aretha Franklin, as you just saw, she has her picture, you see, a portrait of herself on the outside of the cover. Now, everybody would want that, but not even the great James Brown could even come up with a cover at the Apollo Theater. So when we're really thinking about how the industry works, the crossover to get a cover, that was very important. You will see that with some of the albums back in the day. You didn't know who was really singing because, they didn't have a cover or a picture. You didn't know whether they were black or white. But with Aretha, we knew who she was. So that's very important. Now, there's many artists that came along the way. It wasn't just a throne that Aretha had, something that was just created for her. No, she had to earn that. And coming in the time that she had a sound that had never been heard before. It was so much soul to it that it was coming right out of the church. You know, and people back then, that was something that people might have been a little against. So I'm not here to start anything. But this presentation is meant not for the actual funeral ceremony. No, this is not what this piece is about. This is the after. That's what this is about. The after, you know, when everybody comes together at the table and eating and gathering and enjoying her life. You know, because she's still with us. She left us so much. So with that being said, just look at who she had to go up against. These names. These would be the names who she had to go up against. Do you see those names? Those are icons in the music industry. These names here. Now I'm hoping you're seeing that, you know, because this is very important to know that all these women recognized her as something special. They couldn't do what she done. You know, if Aretha Franklin had the simplest of a song for its lyrics, everybody could sing respect. Everybody could. So these women that I just shown you, they was just in awe over how can someone she could sing the phone book, Aretha Franklin, you know, so it was very difficult for women to just be in awe. It was difficult for them. But what they heard in the presentation was always elegant and it was royal. Now, excuse me 1 second, because like I said, this is my drink tonight. You know, this is my drink. You know, this is for the divas. You know, this is what it's about. You know, and so by having these women that were admiring, and they were seasoned in the industry. You know, someone like Sarah Vaughan. You know, Miss Sarah Vaughan. Now, she's been in the industry before Aretha Franklin. You know, she could sing like a canary, you know, a bird. That's how her voice was. It was like a flute. So for her to give way at all, you know, the great Sarah Vaughan, she had no problem with it. It was always a respect thing with those divas. Those divas knew who the Queen of Soul was. Now, the industry, it has a tendency to change. You know, it changes. It's constantly evolving. But yet, even the great Dinah Washington, she had a cover. That's very important. Like I told you, even JB couldn't get a cover started out, you know? But yet, these women were making big noise, establishing a culture. You know, this is the jazz era. And here comes Aretha Franklin with a different sound. It's something ain't right. You know, they couldn't imagine that. So with all that being said, you know, as the industry keeps evolving, you know, you would find women such as Nancy Wilson. Yes, the great Nancy Wilson. Now, the great Nancy Wilson, keep in mind, you know, they had already been in the industry. These women would easily sit back and enjoy the show when Aretha came around. But yet, like I said, Aretha came out of an era of segregation. We have to keep that in mind. You know, the skin tone, you know, would be more fair to say someone like Harry Belafonte, you know, and Lena Horne would be a beautiful couple back then, and still would be today. But yet, these are the tones of skin that played such a part in our culture. Now, as you move around, you come to find women who would want everything that was making up of an Aretha, whether it was her hair, you know, whether it was her dress. This is the emotions. But don't they all look like Aretha Franklin? All of them do. Now, that's strange, but everybody wanted that look. It's all about trying to be something that was very fitting at the time, being Aretha Franklin. I give you one. And this might have started a lot of mess back in the day, but I'm gonna get it to you anyway. Because these icons are no longer around, so I might can get away with this, right? But in all honesty, when Natalie Cole came out, there was nothing seemed like, she's skyrocketing. But those elders who would sit around and listen to Natalie Cole, first thing they said was, she has a beautiful voice, but she sounds like Aretha Franklin. Now, that might start something right there. I'm telling you, Natalie Cole, I seen her personally, at the old Kiel Auditorium in St. Louis. And I mean, it was just a wonderful show. She was ours. She was our queen, of that era. We're more coming into the late 70s, going into the 80s. Aretha was still going, when Natalie Cole even came around. She was still on top of her game, but Natalie Cole, hands down, people would say, good voice, but it's got that Aretha soul to it, because they couldn't find anything really to match, to even come close. So all you're doing really is mimicking your voice, duplicating a voice or a sound that's in you. You can't get rid of it. Now, there was one that, in the industry, it was very difficult for a biggest company as Motown was. Motown, was unstoppable, but they recognized Aretha Franklin been around a long time, you see, but they couldn't come up with anything really to compete with. They went and got Gladys Knight. Now that might start something too, because Gladys is still around. Gladys is still around. I don't mean no harm. But Gladys Knight, in all honesty, she's the only thing that could come close to that sound, to compete with. They were all very competitive, and Motown didn't have any voice that could get it. I think Gladys might have came off Atlantic Records, but yet she jumped ship, flipped to Motown, and the rest is history. Even brought her pimps with her, Gladys Knight and the Pimps, So, it really balanced things out that some soul could be at a competitive level, because it was just unfair. Nothing could get close to saying that they would have that title of the Queen of Soul. That's really like uncontested. Okay, so when we look at it, even women like Dionne Warwick, this is nothing but class here. Valley of the Dolls, this is nothing but class. She was the aunt of Whitney Houston. Yes, even their family, not trying to start nothing, but they all knew who Aretha was and respected that. I mean, look at this. We were talking about Motown. These are the greatest steppers of all time. I need not say anything. The late, great Dennis Edwards is leading here. Before then there was, other Temptations, David Ruffin. But this was with Dennis. Dennis just left here too, not too long ago. These icons, these musical icons are really letting us see how will we evolve. That's very important. How will we continue the legacy of that queen? That must be a queen. There can only be one. Now remember that. It's a lot of talent out here. But for you to say you're the queen, yeah, that's going to be real hard to hold that. Because in so many areas, she's not somebody that you see in the tabloids. Aretha Franklin wasn't about that. So when you're looking over her life, many are not with us now. And here's another one that's no longer with us. This woman, Phyllis Hyman, right here. Yes, she tried very hard, her best in that industry of music to compete. But yet, Aretha just barred none. Very competitive Aretha Franklin was. That someone like Phyllis, no, Aretha wasn't letting go. You had to earn it. Because she came through. I showed you who she had to come through. Sarah Vaughan, Dana Washington. She earned it. She earned everything. Now, as time comes to pass, you will notice, like I said, I'm not trying to, make this a racial issue. That's not what I do. I'm only saying these people, these icons, these divas, it's been rough on them. That's the only point I'm trying to make here. And to fit in, that is what they had to do. Nancy Wilson. Yes. Nothing but class. Nothing but class here with Nancy. And I think, she should be commended. All the women should, just in how they had their respect for each other. Here's the late, it's so sad. These women, these divas who tried, in a time where Aretha just dominated the industry, and this is Minnie Riperton. She tried hard. It's just endless. It is endless. The people who she touched. Now this one here, this is Tina. Remember her? Yeah. Get a good picture of that. That's Tina Turner. A voice unmatched. It's hard to find a woman to be able to sing anything like Tina Turner. But even she knows who the Queen of Soul was, the great Tina Turner. It's just so much history, the culture, the legacy. I don't know who would be able to start a presentation. I'm doing my best to give you all of me so that the next person can come behind and know what all you have to bring. You have to bring a lot to the table when you start trying to speak on Aretha Franklin. That is an awful lot, So with that being said, I want everybody to know that this is Harry Guides, and I'm going to go enjoy. I'm going to go enjoy some of this music because I can go on and on with this. But I tried to lay a little foundation for somebody who would like to come behind me. Where's your presentation? I don't see anyone stepping up, trying to get something going with this. This is before her last days, to be put to rest. So I challenge anyone, you're a professional. This is social media. And I'm doing my best to let it be known to the family, the Aretha Franklin family, that somebody out here cares, for all you lost. And we appreciate everything that your family gave to the world. You should definitely, I think even President Bush, I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but I think she even won one of those presidential medals. So there's a great history there, And if I may add one more point, because I'm glad I got a little more time here. Keep in mind, again, I was speaking about the church. There was one that I'm sure the divas out there, will go and find. Her name was Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson, people thought, well, we give Mahalia Jackson, Aretha, that'd be some competition there. But the great Mahalia Jackson would not give in to R&B. She stayed a gospel singer. Now, Mahalia Jackson could literally raise the dead with her voice. At a funeral, Mahalia Jackson, no, only the Queen of Soul could be able to outdo Mahalia Jackson. And let that be known. The greatest gospel singer ever was Mahalia Jackson. But like I said, the industry always trying to, see if they can stir up something and see if they can get you to cross over. Mahalia just wouldn't do it. She stayed firm in her religious beliefs. God bless her. Rest in peace. There's not a lot of icons around, anymore. They moved on. But Mahalia Jackson is someone, if I had to say to the young people today that haven't heard Mahalia Jackson, but yet you have heard Aretha Franklin. Because Aretha Franklin could do gospel also, so you do the comparison if you want. Mahalia Jackson is the greatest gospel singer without a doubt. Okay? Now, if you look at it again, in the early days, you had gospel singers like Little Richard. He done gospel. You see, and if you notice how Little Richard evolved, he's still around. So we're looking for Little Richard. So Little Richard can be able to maybe set a presentation out here, because he was back then. I was a boy, watching my elders. So they enjoyed themselves, and she still was able to supply the next generation, and so on and so forth. She's hard. It's hard to get her out of our culture. She will be here. And I just want everybody to just know that it's not over. We still have her, you see, and we definitely have her husband, So Glenn, just remember, man, I gave you as much as I can give to you, but right now, this is for all the divas, and I'm gonna go enjoy this moment. May God bless you. Rest in peace, the great Aretha Franklin. Thank you.